Hey guys, still here. Welcome back to From the Depths, episode 11 of the Submarine series, which I can tell you is no longer a submarine. In episode 10, I was redesigning the submarine to be a surface combatant. Now, this might be one of the weirdest surface combatants that you've seen, because as opposed to most ships, it doesn't have an actual command bridge. The command is inside the ship. And this is where I feel safest. I have my ship's wheel, I have a few PIDs, a couple of automated controllers, fire computer. But most of the ship is going to be controlled by, and it's behind me right here, the AI system. This is absolutely critical, because this thing determines what weapon to fire at what threat. And talk about weapons, I have quite a lot of those. This is a triple 155mm turret. It's one of those standard blocks. Let me see, it's the Mamba. It's a really powerful weapon. It fires very quickly, and that's important, it can double as an anti-aircraft weapon. Although, if you're dealing with fast-flying ships or fast-flying aircraft, then this thing won't really hit it. Next up, we got basically the conning tower, in a way. One radar dome on top, 2 cameras and 1 infrared camera on the front and 1 on the stern. Moving up, we have a couple of missile batteries. These are 8 anti-air missiles. Missile type that is in here, let me just get this thing off of pause, is a couple of fins, variable thruster. It won't be terribly fast, but I can adjust that if I need to. Fuel tanks, target prediction warhead, explosives, EMP and explosive again, camera and infrared seeker, so that this thing does not get confused by an infrared decoy. Further forward, we got the torpedo launcher. This thing fires 4 medium torpedoes. They are not nearly as powerful as the ones that were fired from the Platypus, but this thing still packs quite a punch. Further forward, we have a heavy, and I mean really heavy, crime cannon. This thing, once again, is an experiment. It is, I believe, the Bertha. Unless it's the Sally. No, it's the Bertha. The Bertha packs a hell of a punch. This thing has 6,000 kinetic damage, 8,000 explosive damage, and, of course, I'm already taking fire. Moreover, it seems that my Heartstone has been hit. Okay, time to get this thing going. Because, of course, just as I'm taking you on a tour of my ship, I'm actually already taking fire. So let's get the air pumps installed, because currently the entire ship is still flooded. Come on, this thing is compartmentalized as much as possible. I'll talk you through the other parts of the ship soon, but for now I first have to make sure that this thing actually gets off the seabed, which hopefully won't be too much of a problem. There, and then we have the aft compartment over here. I'm not leaking anymore. Altitude is 499, 498. There we go, we're coming up. Propulsion's on the stern of the ship. 495. It's going to take quite a while to get this ship on the surface. Anyway, the weapon systems. I went over the torpedo systems, the Bertha up front, or more or less up front, because up front I have a dual turret, pretty high amount of firepower in 2 250mm shells. They do quite a bit of explosive damage, they do quite a bit of kinetic damage, and let's see if I can pull up the control system. Here we go. Actually no, this thing is set up as a Sabo warhead, so armor penetration is the key for this weapon. Means that the shell velocity is really high at 576 meters per second, range 2 clicks. Now all of these weapon systems are controlled by the AI in order to make sure that they have the ability to select the right weapon type for the right threat. And I gotta check something about the ship, because for some reason we're not actually coming up. Buoyancy is good, it's not breached. How about the other sections? This one is breached. So where do we have a breach? I hadn't actually put air pumps on this thing because I was busy for a lot of the time trying to get this thing to actually work, trying to get it finished. I can cordon off this section. This one should be done. Yep, no longer flooded. This weapon system, by the way, is a very, very small missile launcher section. It only has 4, if not, no, actually 3 blocks of missile. Really, really short range, and it only does a very small amount of infrared or explosive damage. It's basically the room that I had in the bow that I didn't really know what to do with. Let's see, this section is... Is it flooded, or does it just look like that? I'd say it's not flooded. Nope. Buoyancy is 0% flooded. Moving towards the stern. Not flooded. This one is not flooded. So why is the ship not coming up? Let's cut propulsion. There we go. I was probably driving the ship down. Talking about the lower end of the ship, I have 5 large thrusters on the back of the ship. I have anti-roll systems mounted along the sides, and I have quite a heavy keel to keep the mass of the ship quite far down, and hopefully this will work. And this is also where I store my ammunition. Now this has its advantages and its disadvantages. On the one hand, I can make sure that if I take a hit on the surface level of the ship, I don't immediately explode violently. On the other hand, there is the issue of torpedoes. If I for some reason take a torpedo to the blister here, to the keel, then most of that's going to go up in one big fireball. So that could be a bit of a problem. Now let's temporarily mount a few balloons just to get this ship surfaced a bit faster. I'm going to have one balloon deployer command key here, so I can quickly get rid of these things. One more in the next section. Oh, by the way, I also have quite a few shield projectors, and I got rid of my RTGs. I'm now back to a standard fuel engine, because the shields need an incredible amount of power, and it just is very, very hard to do that if you're just using RTGs. It's going to make it really, really expensive. Alright, balloons going up. Let's get this ship surfaced. Now we're coming up quite fast. It's quite a long ship. It looks a bit weird without a command bridge, but the reasoning behind that is that I'm not safe on the bridge. Whereas I am quite safe if I'm down in the bowels of the ship. Gotta say, it looks weird. Ship mounting 10 balloons in order to get to the surface. I hope I don't need those in the actual operations of the ship. And talking about operations, it looks like I'm going to get a warm welcome, because we got quite an engagement going on here. We have a Jacob's Delight for 42,000 resources, 5,000 in the bank. A Claymore has joined the party. Next up, there's an Ironclad for almost 1,500 points of materials in the bank, as well as 22,000, but it looks like he's taking a pounding from another Jacob's Delight. This looks like a catamaran design, and it looks like it took quite a bit of fire already, but is still very heavily armored. And, of course, to make it even worse, there's another aircraft, a Firefly, which has also taken some damage. So these ships are slugging it out, and I hope I can join the party and kill some units, see if these weapon systems actually work. I think I covered the entire ship so far. Not that much more to tell. Basically, now we're gonna wait and see if this thing actually works. That's the key here. Depth 220. And I gotta warn you, this might very well be the last episode in case I get the ship blown up, which, by all accounts, is a significant threat. Surface combatants are just so much more vulnerable and so much more at risk than any of your other type of vehicles. I mean, submarines are very, very safe. Aircraft are quite vulnerable, and I don't really feel that confident about using a ship, but we'll see. I hope it's going to make for some more interesting video. Looks like there's even more units converging towards the north, but that's not really a problem at the moment. 138. 130. $110. We're getting there. I just hope that the buoyancy is enough, because it is quite a heavy ship. In the sense that the keel is really, really heavy. By the way, I have an ammo block exposed there. That's pretty bad and pretty vulnerable. Any stray shell will detonate my entire magazine. There. And we gotta make that black. There. Depth, 75. Let's install some lights while I'm waiting. It's decorations, of course. Light fitting. Black, yeah, right. No. This is the middle axis of the ship. There we go. Depth 47. $28. Here we go. We're about to surface. Stern has surfaced. Come on, a bit more. Here we are. How's the mainframe doing? Not connect. Oh, damn. I need to fix that right away. In my construction efforts, I managed to delete the radar, or the AI receiver. There we go. Plenty of threads, but I don't have enough computing power. So let's quickly throw on some more computing power. Is that enough? I don't know. For the sake of it, let's say it's not. Okay. Cut the balloons. There's the balloons gone, and that is not good. We're starting to flood. Huh. I think I made the keel a bit too heavy. This is metal. You know what? Until I have the chance to fix that, I'm going to be moving around with those balloons. Which is really weird. But for now it's the only way I see to keep this ship functioning as a surface combatant. Yeah, she's way too heavy. Okay, so we're tracking targets, but apparently they're out to more than 2 clicks. Although... nope, the bow cannon is working. The bow is lighting up. The whole ship is submerged. Look at that. There's the stern turret firing. This is metal beams. Yeah, we're gonna have to strip this thing down a bit. These are the lead beams. Hopefully this will allow the ship to actually maintain surfaceability. And of course, now I run into the problem of being potentially top heavy. We are engaging. Not done any damage yet. All turrets are firing as best they can. How are we doing on combat? We're not too far away. There we go. I think we hit something. Yep. 6.26 damage. 15 damage. 15,000. I really want to see the birth of fire. Because these are just the triple turrets. Or the triple turret on the stern. As well as the one on the bow. Now what I could do is try to create a bit of a freeboard here, so that I can pump out the water off the surface of the ship. But that would probably interfere with all of the turrets, so it's really down to making this ship less heavy. This is all metal. We're gonna leave all of the... There we go, the lead. That has to go. I hope that my keel doesn't suddenly fall off. That would be a bit of a bad start. Especially with these propulsion systems being on the stern. That's a bit better. Looks like we're quite reliably on the surface. Out of curiosity though, why is my torpedo system not firing? This is the failsafe, lock weapons controller. Maximum engagement range, 2K. Ah, they're just outside of 2K. That's why. And the Bertha? There's the Bertha. Opening up. Or considering it. Torpedoes are going out. Let's see what happens if I cut the balloons. Yeah. That doesn't really work, does it? We're still a half submarine. Great. That seems to be one of my cram cannon shells. I'm not sure if it actually hit anything. Here we go, up you go. Okay, we're gonna head pretty much right into the fray of it. Torpedoes are going out. Every single weapon system on the ship is firing, save for the AA missiles and the missiles on the bow, which have a range of about 800. Look at that, 6,000 damage done. One ship is 2 damaged. What's that? That's the Firefly, that's the aircraft. The Jacob's Delight is slugging it out with an ironclad that's right next to it. That's a cram cannon shell for my ship, definitely. This thing is a pretty sitting duck, but accuracy on the cram cannons leaves a bit to be desired. Look at that, the rounds are sometimes just bouncing off of this ship. And I gotta say that the ship, and actually the whole game, is starting to lag out a bit. Where are my torpedoes at? Missiles now joining the party. There's the torpedo system. There's more torpedoes in the water. And I'm quite consistently doing damage to everything, really. I really want to have one of those cram shells hit. If they hit, they do an immense amount of damage. Far more than any of my other weapon systems. Come on, hit him. Nope, overshot the target again. This the Jacob's Delight looks quite fragile with all of the parts in the middle taking a lot of damage. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point it just breaks off into either 2 different ships, or it takes so much damage. There we go. That was a cram cannon hit. It's going to take so much damage that it will probably be knocked out as a combatant. All my shields are currently up. And it is quite a heavily shielded ship, I must say. I have shields around the sides of the ship, heavily shielded around the sensor systems, and the bow also has some shields, although not many. We've done a lot of damage with this ship already. There's the torpedoes, which seem to not have the range to reach the ship. There's another cram cannon shell. Now we're taking fire. That is probably the Jacob's Delight over there. Yep, that one. That's the biggest threat. Look at all of these targets here. We are doing damage to the Jacob's Folly with the long-range weapons. But I'm getting a bit nervous about risking my ship this much, because I'm pretty much broadside on, presenting a very sizable target. There's another good hit there. Come on, make a bit of a turn. And here's the problem. Cram cannon shells are very, very difficult to stop. Especially shields seem to be really, really useless. The only option that you have is a laser defense system, which I don't have. Come on, hit him. There we go. Good hit. Looks like something just blew up, considering the way that the game just slowed down. They're still overshooting my ship. Looks like the Jacob's Delight over here is about to get hit by torpedoes. Couple of torps going in, but this thing is very, very heavily armored. I think it's almost made completely out of metal. I'm seeing some pieces of wood here on the bow. This thing is just being completely obliterated. Look at him go. And I think he's either out of detectors or out of weapons, because he's not firing back at me whatsoever. No, not a threat. And the AI is completely ignoring the ironclad, which it apparently does not consider a threat. Or not as much of a threat. Lots of lag in the game. Another couple torpedoes hit the ship. Cram cannon unfortunately narrowly missed. Still down to 60%, so he's actually doing quite alright. Long range fire going in on the other Jacob's Delight. The Claymore, again, is being ignored just as much as this ironclad. Apparently they are not armed, and therefore not a problem. Good hit. It almost seems like we're barely doing damage to these guys. You know what? I'm gonna go with a couple of hydrofoils. Because hopefully with those I can keep the ship forced upwards. A couple here. Let's add a few here along the middle of the ship. And maybe some over here. I can also take off these lower sections of the keel. I don't need them anymore. They're just there to create drag. An additional weight that I really want to lose. I'm going to keep this thing actually surfaced instead of a submarine. We've been there, we've done that. It worked fantastically well. But now it's time to keep this thing as a surface ship. That should be black. Although I could probably get rid of all of this. Now, one thing that you may not be noticing about the ship yet, but which is significant, is that it has an anti-roll system. And that anti-roll system is allowing me to not, or to continue firing. I don't have to worry about the positioning of the ship. And the anti-roll system, and you can see one of them here, is heavily pushing the ship in the right direction. So that it doesn't really roll that much and create a stable platform for the weapon systems to fire. This lag is quite annoying though. Let's make this a triangle corner. Jeez, there's so many blocks that the game starts to really, really lose FPS. Solution, kill more stuff. Let's go with a 2-meter beam here. There, how's that for hydrodynamics? Not too bad, look at that. Cross-section water, about 40. That's quite nice, actually. And then, at the hydrofoils, look at that. That really pushes the ship out of the water. Maybe a bit too much. Okay, so how are the threats by now? It looks like one of those guys has completely perished. That was one of the Jacob's delights that's no longer with us. And it seems that this ironclad has quite merrily absorbed all of the materials. 6,000 on him, 0 on him. Let's make a turn. 230,000 AP damage, 302,000 explosive damage. This is what I'm talking about. This is how you do damage. We're still firing at the Jacob's Delight, still the biggest threat apparently. Torpedoes are seeking the shortest or the closest target, which is the ironclad here, and consistently doing more and more explosive damage to it. Cram cannon shell missed it, unfortunately, narrowly. I'm going to get all of your materials. You stole those away from me. I'm really happy that this Jacob's Delight is no longer returning fire. Because that thing with a cram cannon shell can pretty much one-shot, potentially two-shot my ship. It does still have a turret. The turret is still aiming in my direction. But I may have exploded all of its ammo supplies. No, actually it's generating ammo. So it does have ammunition. Yep, there we go, it's returning fire. But is it going for me? Nope, it's going for the Claymore. It considers the Claymore more of a threat. I'd say that's not exactly true, but okay. I'm going to change my torpedoes to have EMP warheads now, seeing if I can kill off the AI mainframes, and by doing so, neutralize that ship without costing a ton of explosive ammo. Good hit on the Claymore. I really like that gun. Just looks impressive. 3,500 kinetic, 2,800 explosive, and going up fast. Explosive radius 18 meters. Yes, please. Can never have enough explosive damage. Come on. Boom. I think that this thing is mostly made out of metal, which is good. Metal absorbs or transports EMP charges through the ship much, much better. Now we're holding fire. Oh, we just took a hit there. Let's turn the ship around a bit because one of my firing pieces was holding fire. There's the next spread of torpedoes. These are probably the EMP warheads, and these are the standard explosives. Those are the last salvo that I've fired off before I changed the ammo loadout. Come on, start sinking some of these boys. Good hit there. Actually, this is EMP warhead damage. You can see that the gun seemingly no longer aims for me, so I think I knocked out all of his detectors. He's basically blind. He doesn't know where I am currently. Come on, fray the system. Nothing? I find that hard to believe. Yep, that was definitely an EMP hit. And I'm not sure what those two did. That was a bit unusual. Now, since I am firing on a surface combatant with my torpedoes, I don't really need a ballast tank, so I can add more EMP damage there. And they don't really need a one-turn either. Thinking of it. Goes another cram cannon shell. Turn a bit. How much damage have I done? 447 kinetic damage, 250 or 2.57 kinetic, no EMP, and 237 explosive. That is how you deliver damage. I am, however, getting a bit worried about my engine power. I think that these things are running a bit hot at the moment. No, actually that's okay. 36. Oh, they're fine. I'm not worried. There's another spread of torpedoes going out. The Jacob's Delight is something that we've taken down from about 68% to 56%, but just look at the amount of shells it's taking. In the meanwhile, I am farming a lot of damage and a lot of materials from him, but I can only really get a lot of materials if I actually detonate the ship, if it gets killed off. And what is that over there? That's a pulsar. Is that aerial? No. It's burning fuel pretty quickly. I'm not too worried about him. He's way too far away to present a threat. There we go, 2 damaged. Let's turn in there and get that guy and all of his materials, provided I can store that much. Yeah, I can store 48,000 points of resources, so I should be fine. Are we diving or something? Oh, the FPS here. I'm sorry, guys. There's just not a lot I can do about that. But hopefully with this Jacob's Folly dead, it's going to take a little bit of a load off of the CPU. Oof, come on. The ship's probably being dismantled. All the guns are now firing at a different threat. There's a bit of a roll in the ship when some of those guns fire. And I think that I'm not too far out of the water for my roll system to be really effective. So let's take the hydrofoils a bit further down. There's torpedoes going out. Good. How much is in the water? 5,000. Yes, please. Now, one thing that I haven't mentioned about this ship yet is that it also comes equipped with anti-radar systems, or anti-laser systems. I have a couple of these sets here. This is a munition warner, so it tells me if there's a missile coming in. If there is, then this little missile gets fired. It's a decoy. It has a sticky flare as well as a missile interceptor, and it gets launched out of this little gantry here by 2 ejectors. So it is going to be capable of deflecting or decoying infrared missiles. Then I have a laser warner in case I take laser damage, and a smoke dispenser right next to it. And I have multiple of these sets spread out across the ship. There's the next set. I have another one on the port bow, or the port and the port bow. So these should keep me safe in case I'm dealing with threats like that. Talking about threats, we got close range target flying over. And it seems to be right there. Took a lot of damage all of a sudden. Looks like we're about to... There we go, there's the decoy systems. Look at him go. Every missile gets deflected. Perfect. Looks like the cram cannon... The cram cannon hit the target? Wow. That was lucky, because that thing is quite valuable. Another 5,000 points. Yep, I already absorbed the points from the Jacob's Folly. There's another 444 resources. Ooh, a chorus. What are you? What do you use as weapons? Let's analyze that. Ooh, I just took a massive hit. Holy moly. Yep, that's the keel gone, alright. My Hearthstone apparently also got knocked off. Where am I? Come on. I don't have time for this. I do have plenty of points to repair the ship with. Where am I? I think I got knocked off of the ship. Come on. Get back. Here we go. Alright. We need repair bots. Now. I need lots of them. Because without all of the keel, we don't have any ammunition on the ship left. Look at that, the whole ship's been breached. The weapons still have some ammo. But it's only the ammo that they have built into the turrets, which is not really that much. I hate it that this section is still flooded. Okay, and who was it that pulled a number on me? Because it was a something, possibly a torpedo that hit me on the lower end of the ship. Looks like this chorus is going to regret attacking the Platypus, or whatever's left of the Platypus, 87%. Yeah, this thing won't be with us for much longer. Come on. There we go. That was his ammunition storage. There's few other weapon systems that blow up that heavily, and he's too damaged. Okay. He's being disassembled, and he leaves 600 points of materials. Yeah, we're gonna need those, considering how much they knocked off of my ship. Thanks for the repair bots, because they really help out. Looks like I may need to adjust the hydrofoils a bit more. In case I have any hydrofoils left, that is. Quite a few of the foils got destroyed in that explosion. Next target is the ironclad here. And this is the ironclad that absorbed all of the materials from one of the other Jacob's follies that was over here, quite close to it. Looks like all of my shells are overshooting the target. Let's see, maybe I need to adjust my sensors. I don't think I've done that yet. No, they are auto-adjusted, so they should be good. We're back to 96%. Can we get any more propulsion on this ship? Because 10.8 is not bad, but I think we can go faster. And repair bots are still working on the keel. And doing it very, very quickly as well. Alright, Platypus at 98%. What's going on with the other weapons? The other weapons don't have enough ammo. That's why they're not firing. It is just the rear turret, because that's the only thing that fires pretty cheap ammunition. Let's see how much the ammo cost is for this thing. I think 100 points per shell or something? Probably less. Ammo cost 7.9. No, actually that's for a 60mm shell. This thing... What is it, 120 or 155? 120. So the price should be about double then. 22. Alright, we're back to full health. We got the resources. And now it's just an issue of finishing off these threats. But we'll do that next episode. For now, I hope you enjoy the new and improved Platypus. It's a bit of an unusual build, in the sense that normally we'd expect this thing to have a command bridge and control surfaces, and stop firing at my own ship, thank you very much. Bloody hell. What's wrong with you? I think that this thing is lacking a failsafe. let's just pause it. That should be a bit safer. There we go. Alright, so thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any recommendations for the ship, let me know. I'm taking any suggestions into account, so anything that you may have to add is very welcome. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for more episodes from the depths.